So I saw conversations on social media about how recently a group on TikTok tried to hex the moon. I read a few articles, a lot of discussions about, the circumstances of this, sort of the background about what's going on. I thought I would do a video about this concept, what these people were attempting to do, why it's probably not a good idea, why it probably wouldn't work for a number of reasons, and why this is just a perfect example of a lot of different things converging at once. I thought I would just do a short video sort of explaining what are these dynamics at play for people that are new to the occult, that are new to astrology, magic, spirituality. I think you shouldn't jump into the deep end, and there's definitely a need for learning, growing, and becoming more well-versed overall, and why it's sort of dangerous to just jump right in and attempt to do something like that. Apparently this was going on TikTok. You're not a Gen Z millennial person that's familiar with social media, so TikTok sort of a platform for people to just do fun short clips, short videos, mostly like dancing, entertainment. It's mostly Gen Z, like kids, younger people, but there are some millennials on there. Sort of lighthearted and fun. A group of people on there that post on what's called WitchTok. So it's like a subset or category on the app where people can talk about things like spirituality, the occult, astrology. But first of all, I want to say, I think that's a great way to learn more and connect with people, is to find groups, to learn as much as you can. That's the cool thing about social media, is that you can connect with people that have similar interests in things, especially if you're new to spirituality and you maybe grew up in a different tradition, or you grew up a religious household, and so you're exploring something new. I think it's great to connect with people that have those similar interests and views. So I think that's a good thing, and it sounds like the people that were attempting to do this, were sort of outliers, not representative of the whole community on that app. The other thing I did want to say is that this isn't going to be a moralizing or judgmental perspective. In spirituality in general, people view the occult or astrology as something that's malevolent or something that's dark or sinister or whatever. And I think that comes from a lack of understanding and a lack of how beneficial it can be for people, how empowering it can be for people, no matter what their practice is. In our Constitution, the freedom of expression and the freedom of religion, and as long as you are not harming somebody physically, practicing in a safe, legal manner, you're free to practice as you believe. If you go and look at the perceptions of occult practices, there's misperceptions about it from the outside, from people that haven't participated or don't know about it or haven't studied it. I'm a PhD student in comparative studies, comparative literature, but I have a background in religious studies. I've studied ancient traditions. I have a 1-year certification in ancient astrology. So I have somewhat more experience and knowledge than the typical beginner might have, and yet I still consider myself a novice. I explore a lot of different things, Buddhism, meditation, astrology, psychology, mythology. I'm fascinated by all those things, and there's so much depth to all of those areas, and so there needs to be a respect for that. If you haven't studied that, there can be misperceptions about what those things are and what those things mean. Then you go and dive into the actual different traditions within, occultism, witchcraft, paganism. There are different rules, there are different morals, there's no uniform morality. And so you have some people that do follow, the Wiccan tradition, and they believe in karma or the threefold law. If you put something out there, it'll come back to you 3 times. I think that's, again, if you're not from that tradition, though, that's not binding, that's not authoritative. That's for those people that believe that. I don't have a problem with people that are using their practices, their spirituality, to defend themselves, to protect themselves, to center themselves, to ground themselves. But my view is different than, everybody else's. You can talk to 10 different people and they'll have 10 different responses or takes on, what's an acceptable practice. And I think that's part of being new to spirituality is understanding and trying to find where is your, moral center or compass, what guides you. That being said, why is it a bad idea for TikTok to try to hex the moon? So first of all, what is it that they were trying to do? So from what I understand, this group was trying to, display their power, display their influence, display their ability by, attempting to harm, to impact celestial body. If you're new to that sort of practice, that might not be the best thing to start off. Complicated, it's dangerous. If you don't know what you're doing, it can backfire, let alone attempting to do that on a celestial body, which if you look at an astrological model, each of the planets exist on a sphere above the earth. So you have the earth, and then you have spheres of heaven, if you will, that exist on different celestial planes, and then you get out to the fixed stars. So the ability to do that, the ability to affect that probably would not work. It doesn't make sense from theoretical, cosmological, astrological perspective. And the other thing too is that what the moon represents. So the moon is one of the luminaries. So you have the sun and the moon. But the moon, it's essential and it's impactful on a material, physical, earthly plane. So the moon, controls the tides. The moon influences us. In astrology, the moon is used to manifest things. So if the moon is in a good position, for example, if you're trying to, maybe you want to, write a good paper, you would want the moon to aspect Mercury. So Mercury controls communications, it controls writing. You would want the moon either, lining up, conjoining Mercury, or aspecting it in a positive way to manifest that influence. Using astrology, using magic. Also, everybody has a moon placement. If you look at, a birth chart, everybody has a moon somewhere. So if you were trying to harm that or trying to undermine that, it may actually backfire and hurt the person trying to do that. Everybody has a moon placement. The moon was in a certain place in the sky at the time of your birth. That's true for every single person on the planet that's ever existed. If you're buying into that astrological model, the moon is in one of the 12 houses. So for example, if these, baby witches on TikTok were trying to hex the moon, they have a moon placement. And what if their moon was in an important house, the second house, for example, of material possessions or, wealth, and they're hexing the moon? That's going to actually cause them to be impoverished and lose money. I guarantee that's not what they want to do. Maybe it is, I don't know. And on the flip side too is what's really bizarre about this story and this experiment. The moon is really good for manifesting good and bad things. It's a powerful tool. The moon reflects. It harnesses the power of other things in the sky, including the sun. It manifests those energies. It makes material and real whatever's in the sky. So it's a very powerful ally. That's why it's an important figure in a lot of religions. It plays a central role in a lot of occult practices, magical practices, astrological practices. It can be a very useful tool, and it sounds like the people that are new to this, that were part of this, maybe don't understand that if you wanted to, bring in wealth, for example, or bring in prosperity or love or whatever, you can use the moon to do that, to increase. So when the moon is waxing, for example, it's said to symbolize growth and bringing in new things. At the new moon, you can start a project, and it's waxing. You start it, it grows, then the moon gets full. It comes to fruition, culmination, and the moon wanes, and then you can use that for if you want to lose weight, if you want to get rid of obstacles, you can use that as well. But you can use it for what's interesting is that they were trying to do a hex or a curse, but the moon can be helpful to do those things also. The moon reflects your intentions and the intentions of your workings and the powers, the celestial powers, and so that's what's sort of bizarre about this. A hex is an intention, it's a working to negatively impact, to harm a person, an entity. So it's different than a petition. So for example, if you're petitioning a god or a goddess, a power, a higher power, and you're asking it to do something for you, that's called a petition. A hex or a curse, in contrast to that, is it's you're intending to harm somebody or something. And it sounds like it was done to sort of get clout or to get attention on TikTok, which that's where social media is today. It's people trying to get attention, trying to get views and likes and clicks and all that stuff, and that's the world that we live in. But it results in misinformation, or it results in things like this where we can view it as an ill-informed intent. The flip side of that is the reason that this might be a bad idea for people attempting to do this. It's going to bring negative attention to you, especially in this community where if you believe in things like energy and astrology and magic and all that, you create a target for yourself. I saw that people were chiming in and saying that it's more of an offense to celestial powers or deities. If you're from a pagan, neo-pagan, polytheist tradition, there are gods or goddesses that rule the moon. In astrology, Luna, you have Luna, the goddess of the moon, or the moon itself. Dianic Wicca, where the moon and Artemis, the threefold goddess, maiden, mother, crone in Wicca, that plays a major role in their religious beliefs. And so by doing something like this, you're creating negative attention, you're disenfranchising people that have that beliefs and people for which the moon plays a significant role in their belief system. And so you're offending them, you're offending that tradition. You can be seen as disrespectful, naive, whatever you want to say. If you're new to this and you don't really know what you're doing, and you're jumping into the deep end with hexing or cursing, it's advanced work, and it's difficult to accomplish. It's difficult to do well if that's part of your tradition, and some people don't. Some people, that's not part of their tradition, that's not part of their morality, their spirituality. And so but there are people out there. You don't want to tangle with people that are more advanced than you at something like that. I see this whole thing as sort of like just a learning experience and opportunity for people that are new, and for people from different traditions and backgrounds to talk about this, because it spurs that conversation, because it affects things like astrology, spirituality, Wicca, paganism, witchcraft, occultism, magic, all those things. The moon plays a role in all of that, the sun, the moon, all of that. It's kind of funny, but it's also sad that people feel the need to get attention this way, when you can have conversations that are honest and authentic on social media. That's just where we are in 2020, where people, instead of using it as a tool, instead of using social media as a tool to learn and to share ideas, it's used by people to get attention and to cause a stir. People that are experienced, that are knowledgeable, hopefully they can share their knowledge, and this can be a learning, teaching moment. We were all new. If you're studying anything, it doesn't have to be spiritual. If you're studying, learning how to write, learning how to do, computer science, a video game, whatever, riding a bike, you're going to be brand new to it at some point, and you take those steps to grow every day. You gather as much resources and knowledge as you can. You ask people that have been through it, and you learn from them. But also, with something like spirituality, religion, There needs to be more respect for people's belief systems. Our public discourse is so toxic where people can be so negative. There seems to be a hubris and both a hubris and a lack of understanding and a lack of respect for people who have sincere religious beliefs. So I hope this video was helpful. I think there was a lot to unpack here with this story. I don't go on TikTok. I loaded it recently to kind of see what was going on and for this video to see, what was TikTok, what was this community, what was WitchTok. And for the most part, I saw a lot of positive things. I saw people posting energy work, yoga, astrology, basic spell work, people sharing ideas, and I think that's great. And I think, young people are so lucky to have that. But at the same time, I would caution people to seeking, attention or fame or by doing something negative or ignorant, especially in this community, especially if you do believe in things in like energy and magic and astrology. You don't want to jump into the deep end and find yourself in a bad place because you did something that offended somebody. I hope this video was helpful. It was just kind of me thinking through some of the different things that came up with this story as somebody that's interested in astrology, in spirituality, religion, occultism, magic, things like that. It's something I've been studying for years. In college I started studying dreams and dream work, a course on New Age spirituality. I have a few videos about that. I took a course recently, a year-long course in Hellenistic astrology, ancient astrology for modern times, which was a really great experience. I got my certificate from that. I did a master's program at Columbia in psychology with a special emphasis in psychology and spirituality. So this is something I've been studying for a long time. I wouldn't consider myself part of any specific tradition. I'm a spiritual seeker. If people ask me what I am, that's what I consider myself. Spiritual seeker, occultist, student. I'm not really into labels, but I know there are other people for whom labels are very important. And so, I think that's the big takeaway from this, is just having respect for people in this tradition, in this realm, in this field, because there's so many different aspects to it. It touches on, so many different beliefs and traditions, and having a respect for the people that do take this seriously. And I think I'm going to do another video about just what it means to take astrology seriously, because as it's growing in the mainstream and popular culture, I think there's a sense that it's just something for fun, it's just something to entertain people. But there are people that do take it seriously, that invest a lot of time, effort, knowledge in studying ancient sources, ancient materials. I think that'll be my next video, just sort of how deep does this go, how deep can you take it, and having a respect for that, for a tradition, no matter what it is. Just like you would approach any other religion. Hopefully this video was helpful. I do talk a lot about things like spirituality, psychology, astrology. So if you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe this video. It's still pretty new, but I want to have these conversations on this platform and talk about things like that because they interest me, and I know that here in 2020 it's interesting to a lot of people, and so hopefully this is a way to share ideas and talk about things that that seem to be relevant today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.